Welcome back to Season 2 of Aging Unmasked. We're going to work towards a bi-monthly release schedule for 2019, so thanks for sticking with us. On Aging Unmasked, we explored taboos in aging, and in this episode, we're covering aging and fitness. Many people have a vision of older adults as weak, frail, and unable to engage in physical exercise. In this episode, we're going to explore the nuances of a spectrum of physical activity while aging, from an older fitness guru to a fitness trainer in a life plan community to an older adult using technology as a means of rehabilitation. And I do want to say, no matter what your age, if you're considering any kind of fitness or exercise routine, please consult your doctor before starting any kind of new exercise plan. Now, with that out of the way, our first guest today is Fred Bartlett, an older adult fitness advocate who transformed himself and hopes to help others to do so as well by spreading awareness of everything older adults can do to combat muscle loss that comes with aging, also known as sarcopenia.
Well, my name's Fred Bartlett. I've had sort of three careers. First I was a soldier, a troop commander, a U.S. Army Ranger, and then for about 60 years I was a trial lawyer. I've been fortunate enough to be picked by two presidents to represent them in their most important courtroom matters, President Bush and President Obama. And in the last 7 or 8 years I've gotten my Act 3, I guess, is starting to wonder why people get weak when they get old and what causes it, and is there a cure, and that's what I'm spending a lot of time on now. I'm 50 years old, and I meet a woman who's in her 30s, and I'm totally blown away. I think she's the most amazing woman I've ever met. I'm married to her now, been married for 32 years, but I want to show off like men sometimes do. So I say, let's go to a gym and work out. And we work out, and we walk out of the gym, and I can hear her words ringing right now. We walk out, she says, "That was ridiculous. You're wasting your time. You'll never live to be 70 if you work out like that." I say, "What should I do?" She says, "I'll find you a real gym, a strip mall, where all the guys have necks bigger than your waist, and you can get a real trainer and learn real workouts." And she finds this gym in Denver. It's the Rocky Mountain Gym. It was a strip mall. And I get interested. The years pass. We get married, and we were married. I was a little over 50. When I got near 60, I noticed that my buddies, my friends of all these years who I skied with and played golf with and traveled with, they're all kind of dropping by the wayside. Well, and my knees hurt, my back hurts, and so. So, as a trial lawyer, I've always been interested in research, so I started doing research on Medline, which is a gigantic database of medical information. And after about 5 years of research, I find this word sarcopenia. It means lack of flesh, and it's the first time anybody, maybe 1995 or so, you began seeing that medical science was beginning to look at the frailty with aging. We all had an aunt that got to be 88 and fell down and could never walk again, and most people, my generation at least, their parents and their siblings, and got old and got weak and got frail and fell down, and a big part of their lives were ruined. So I started reading about sarcopenia, and I saw that that getting frail and weak and falling down when you get old is not inevitable, like most people have thought in their whole lives, but it's an actual disease recognized by the World Health Organization. And there's causes and there's cures, and that's how I got into getting curious about why all my buddies were getting frail and couldn't do anything, and I was doing just fine. Because my wife, years ago, when we first met, got me started pumping iron. Well, I think there's a good argument that sarcopenia, frailty with aging, is the largest problem facing us in the United States of America. It's the largest problem because everybody has sarcopenia. It's a disease that everybody has. It ruins a big chunk of the last 30 years of your life. There are cures, and almost nobody in medical science knows that there are cures. It's amazing. The top top doctor in the entire world wrote an article about 2 years ago. This is Zeke Emanuel, that's Rahm Emanuel's brother in Atlantic, and he said that getting frail when you get old ruins your life so much that most people would be better off dying at 75. That life after 75 isn't worth living because you can't do anything. The day that I read his article, I thought to myself, I'm 84 and I'm skiing with my 14-year-old granddaughter today, and it's going to be one of the best ski days in my life. But the fact is that not just people that don't get, but top scientists believe it's inevitable, in fact, Zeke Emanuel in his article said pneumonia is a great gift to old people because when you get pneumonia at 75, you die quickly without any pain. You know, imagine, I'm 86 and I'm having the best time I've ever had in my entire life, and the experts are saying that you ought to be dead. What it all boils down to, in a nutshell, is its strength. That sarcopenia is a lack of strength. There's a whole I could talk for a day on what causes it. It's an evolutionary problem, but we don't need to talk about that. Just accept that getting old and frail and falling down, and getting pneumonia and getting these chronic diseases is caused by inactivity. In America, there's never been a less active place in the world than the United States of America today. People are inactive. Their bodies were designed to be strong. They don't do anything. They get weak. Their bodies break down. Today, a person 60 has a life expectancy of 30 years, which takes you to 90. But while medical science has given us these 20 or 30 extra years of life over when my granddad was born, only 8 years of the 30 years that you get the extra years are healthy years. So about almost half of the adult life of most people is spent in the living hell of the downward spiral of aging. You remember your grandparents, you remember your aunts and uncles. They all were frail, they sat in the chair, their lips trembled. You don't have to do that. You can be the same person at 85 you were at 22. I know you doubt that. I know you think I'm BSing you, but it's true. Well, number one, I can do everything I love doing in my entire life better than I could when I was a 22-year-old Army Ranger. I'm stronger. I'm a faster skier. I'm a better skier. I'm shooting my age in golf. I'm practicing law and trying cases. I mean, I get up every day and I say, how lucky am I? I don't have any hint of frailty with aging. Zero, none. Life is wonderful. Now, I know it's not going to go on forever. The beating sarcopenia doesn't necessarily mean you're going to live a real long time, but it means the years you get, the years that we have are going to be wonderful years instead of terrible years in a downward spiral of unhappiness. It's a myth that if you work out with weights, you'll, quote, strain yourself. Just the opposite. If you're strong, you're not going to get hurt. I ski hard. I ski in Vail. I'm at 12,000 feet. People ski into me. I get up and ski, and they go to the hospital. In other words, I talked to a lot of my friends who are my age. They're leery about working out with weights. Gee, I don't know. I don't want to strain myself. My doctor says to take it easy. That's totally bad advice. Everything works better, and you're way less likely to injure yourself when you're strong. After I did all this research, maybe 10 years ago, I'd sit around telling my wife, that the one who was my mentor really getting me into this, she was in Europe in the early 60s, and she ran into a couple over there who were bodybuilders, so she got started at 25 doing this. But anyway, I'd say to her, "Hey, Jana, guess what I found today?" And she'd say, "You ought to write a book." And I'd say, "Yeah, I don't know." And then, she kept saying enough times, "You should write a book," that I wrote a book. And what my book does, the things I've told you today, the seriousness of the frailty with aging, what causes it, what's the cure, problems with motivation, are all addressed in there. But it's not just, you know me, I'm an old guy who was a soldier telling you what I think. My book is all peer-reviewed medical science. It's not, this is what I think. It's what medical science is beginning to think. It'll probably surprise you to know that only 2 years ago did medical science recognize for the first time that sarcopenia was a disease that everybody has and not just something that happens when you get old. So their medical science is beginning to get a handle on this. When I give a lot of talks to medical groups, and I'll say, how many people here, these are surgeons, doctors, how many people here think that frailty with aging is inevitable? Every hand goes up. I say, you're wrong. I said, how many here have ever heard of a disease called sarcopenia? Never heard of it, not taught in medical schools, and that's why, in my way, my book is so timely and so exciting, because you're going to learn things in there that most people who read the book, their doctor doesn't know. If their doctor knew anything about it, the doctor would be prescribing exercise, and maybe it's close to malpractice, not describing it. Now, it's not just me. It's the UK medical colleges, it's Harvard Medical School, it's Carnegie Mellon, it's Mayo Clinic. A lot of the leaders in medicine are now calling exercise a miracle cure for frailty with aging. Now, Harvard and the UK medical people, they don't overstate anything. They're careful. When they write, and it's always cited in my book, when they advise us that intense physical exercise is a miracle cure for frailty with aging, they're not kidding. But I'll bet if you ask your doctor, just try it sometime when you're around and say, you ever heard of sarcopenia, and see what he says.
To learn more about Fred, please visit his website, strongpath.com. We also have a link to a Mayo Clinic article all about sarcopenia in our show notes.